Hello, everyone, and welcome to Schwab Coaching. My name is Cameron May. I'm a Senior Manager of Trading and Derivatives Education here at Schwab, and this is Getting Started with Thinkorswim. And today we're going to be talking about 10 hidden Thinkorswim features that are sometimes missed by new users of the platform. I think this is going to be interesting. Even for those that have been using it for a while, some of these features can just go overlooked, but they can carry some potential power for the trader or for the investor. So I think this is going to be an interesting discussion. We're going to be going through a lot. Don't feel like you need to catch every little thing, but watch for what might be valuable to you. But in any case, before we dive into it, let me first of all say hello to everybody who's chatting in. Great to see some familiar names. I already see that some people are saying, hey, it's my first time here. Well, welcome to you. But hello there to Mark and Will, Austin and Greg, Scott, Jody, Philip, Oak Z, Rojo, everybody else. Thanks for joining us week after week. We always appreciate your attendance and your contributions to these discussions. If you are among those who are here for the very first time, I do want to welcome you. And if you're watching on the YouTube archive after the live stream is concluded, enjoy the recording. It's a great way to watch these webcasts, but you're certainly also invited to join us in the live stream audience. If you'd like to be here, this is a Wednesday webcast series. We kick things off promptly at 2 Eastern time. Now, everybody that's here live should also know that my very good friend Barb Armstrong is hanging out in the chats. Barb and I have worked together for years and years and years. She brings a lot of experience to this discussion, very familiar with the platform. And what Barb is going to be doing is keeping an eye on the chats. And if there are any questions that come in, if I can't get to those questions, Barb's there to help pick up my slack for me. Thanks for having my back there, Barb. Barb and I would also like to make a big suggestion to anybody watching live or on the archive to follow your favorite Schwab presenters on social media. You can find us on X, you can find us on LinkedIn, you can find and follow Barb on X at Barb Armstrong CS. You can find and follow me on X at Cameron May CS, or you can pop over to linkedin.com/in and then go to /Cameron May CS. Find and follow me there. And if you reply to one of my social media posts, I just try to reply right back to you. It allows for communication in between these live streams. But let's get into this discussion. And as we do, of course, we need to consider the risks associated with trading or investing. So bear in mind that all corporate or issuer names and market data shown are for illustrative purposes only and are not a recommendation, offer to sell, or a solicitation of an offer to buy any security. Schwab does not recommend the use of technical analysis as a sole means of investment research, and investing involves risks, including the loss of principal. All right, so today we're going to be talking about 10 hidden Thinkorswim features that beginners just tend to miss. And what I'd like to do as we go through these 10, do a couple of things. First of all, watch for the ones that seem to be most applicable to your scenario, that might be most helpful to you. And also, if you've been using the platform for a while, do a little mental checklist and see how many of these 10 you are already familiar with. All right, but let's go right to the Thinkorswim desktop platform. And I will say, I saw somebody chatting in saying, hey, it's my very first time here. They have a preference right now, and maybe in the future, for what's called Thinkorswim Web, which is the browser, the internet-based version of Thinkorswim. It's kind of a streamlined version, a stripped-down version of Thinkorswim. So what we're going to be using today is called Thinkorswim Desktop. It's a software platform that can be downloaded from within your Schwab Online account. But yeah, it's a little bit more detailed, a lot more detailed, and it has a lot more features. And so, of course, there's going to be a longer learning curve. So I can certainly relate to the concept that that some might have an early preference or a continued preference for the web-based version. That more streamlined version might be totally sufficient. But we are going to be going a little bit deeper into the software platform. All right. So this is the simulated trading environment of the Thinkorswim desktop trading software, the paper money platform. And let's get ourselves acquainted with these 10 hidden Thinkorswim features that a lot of beginners miss. And the first one that I want to talk about is found right over here in the Gadgets column. It can be really nifty, giving quick access to little charts as we move around the rest of the platform. So it's called the Quick Charts tool. So I'm going to come right down here and click on the plus icon to add a gadget. And let's just select Quick Chart. And what this allows us to do, and I'm probably going to stick with Apple for most of this presentation, but what this allows us to do is to quickly bring up a smaller chart of Apple. We can add additional tools and features to it. I'm not going to do any of that today, but I just want to call attention to the fact that for a lot of our users of Thinkorswim, they like to move around the platform. Maybe they're going to the trade tab, or they're running scans, or they're doing some market watch research here. but they like to keep an eye on specific charts. Well, a quick way to do that, where we can just park a chart right over here to the left, is to use that quick chart feature. And this does have those other chart tools. We can add studies and indicators and things like that. But I didn't want to get into those today. I just wanted to show that quick chart tool. Now, I don't suppose that this is going to be a huge revelation to a lot of our more veteran users of the desktop platform, but for somebody who's new, that's a nice little feature. So I wanted to show that. Next up, I wanted to show a feature known as linking, also known as color linking. But I'm going to go back to our charts tab up here, and right next to any symbol box on the platform. So right now we're looking at charts, but we'd also see this on the trade feature. We'd also see this over here on quick charts, and maybe I'll use that to emphasize this linking. Actually, let's do this in a few places. But notice there's a little chain link. That's what this little icon is. And if we click on that, it allows us to link one tool on Thinkorswim to other tools on Thinkorswim. So we're not always moving around and having to re-enter the same symbol over and over again. It's really easy when we're looking at a chart and maybe we get excited about a symbol and we pop over to the trade tab and we forget to change the symbol. That can lead to problems. Mike, you always like to get some more reinforcement and a review. It is kind of nice, isn't it, Mike? Sometimes we can get reminded of features that we knew, haven't used them for a while, and we get a little bit of a refresher. So let's use this linking feature. So you'll notice when I click on that, it gives me a series of 9 color-coded numbers. A red 1, a yellow 2, a blue 3, and so on. It doesn't really matter which one we choose, just as long as we consistently choose the same color across different tools. Now, there are different colors and number combinations available because sometimes we might want to link our charts to our quick chart. But we want our charts linked separately to, let's say, our trade tab and so on. So we can choose different combinations. But here's how the linking works. What we'll do is just choose a number here. And then wherever we want to link that to, for example, let's say I want to link it to this quick chart, I'm going to choose the same number color combination. And those two features are now linked just that easily. So if I were to change the symbol, let's go over to maybe Amazon in our chart, notice that now populates automatically in the quick chart that we've added to the gadget. And what we might want to do, how about we link this as well to our trade tab? So notice this is already on Apple, but we were just looking at Amazon. What if I wanted that to switch to Apple? Well, let's change this, or pardon me, to Amazon. Let's link this, and now it's Amazon. Now, anytime I change the symbol in any of the linked tools within the platform, it will automatically update that. So now, for example, if I go to General Electric, on the trade tab, it's now showing the GE chart, which can be handy. Now I can see the quote information. I can see the chart over here. And if I go for a bigger chart, it's already loaded. So that's a really nice way to streamline the navigation of the platform. You might say, why doesn't it default that way? Well, not everybody wants to have everything linked. So the default is to unlink everything, but to allow rapid linking if desired. So that is kind of hidden feature number 2 that for some initial users of Thinkorswim, it can take a little bit of time to discover these little hidden features. All right, so let's just hide this quick chart. We don't need to necessarily focus on that. Let's not worry about the linking, but I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to link them all. I'm going to leave those linked. Third thing I want to show, though, how about we go back here to Apple, and you can probably envision behind the scenes, invisibly, the other 2 areas have now been updated to show Apple on the trade tab and on the quick chart. But in any case, for some traders, they just like to get as much transparency into what they've been doing on a specific symbol as possible. And one of the features that can get overlooked is that when we place a trade on a stock, we can actually see that trade displayed as a tool on our chart. Let me show you this. So let me just set up a quick trade scenario. You know what? We actually own some shares of Apple and Amazon. We have 100 shares of Amazon. Let me switch. Let's go here. Let's bring up Amazon for this next discussion. This is a previous, ooh, this is interesting. This is kind of give something away. Forgive me for just a moment. Let me see. I'm going to save this as a new drawing set, and I'm going to re-show you this in just a moment, but I don't want to lose these drawings that I've drawn previously in a different webcast series. So let me move this out of the way for just a moment. I just have to remind myself. Anyway, just going to abbreviate that to Amazon Techs or Technical Signals. I'm going to save that. But let me just switch up my drawing set here. I'm going to remove these. Let's right click on one of these and clear our drawing set. So we're looking at a nice clean chart of Amazon. But as I mentioned before, we own 100 shares of Amazon. And let's say that our trader is looking at, oh, price is falling. There's an earnings announcement coming up. Maybe we'll hold on to these shares, but if they start to fall down below, I don't know, maybe if those shares start to fall down below this previous price floor at around 225, maybe the plan is to sell. So let's say if the stock falls down here to 222, let's put in what's called a stop order. If the stock continues to fall, we want to stop the bleeding, try to get out of these shares. So I'm going to go to the trade tab and let's put in an order to sell, right click on the bid price, in order to sell 100 shares of Amazon at a stop order of $222. I'm going to make that a good till canceled stop order. So again, what we're doing here is we have an order to be triggered if the price of Amazon happens to fall down to or below 222. Stop the bleeding. It might sell for less than 222, but it won't trigger until it gets down to that level. So let me click confirm and send. There's our sell order for 222, or pardon me, for a stop at 222 for 100 shares. And there's no commission on this example trade, but there can be on some types of trades. I want to send that order off. And my purpose in showing that wasn't to display how to enter an order, but it's now that if I go back to my charts, I don't even know that I have an order in place necessarily. So one of the chart settings that we can change, so we've looked at quick charts, we've looked at linking. Let me change a chart setting here to show orders on the screen. So by clicking on the little gear icon, that's our chart settings icon up at the top of the chart. The very first thing that shows up in the pop-up here, we have a whole bunch of tabs that we could navigate through, but just on the general tab, I can check the box for show orders and click apply. And as I click OK now, you'll see there's our stop order displayed. And so that's a nice little visual reminder. Oh, I do have a stop in place on this stock. Might even be a reminder that we have a position there. Another thing that we can do is a little bonus. We can not only show the orders, but as we hover over the pill, it gives us the details of those orders. And what if I wanted to move that stop order up? Well, I could actually just click on this little pill icon. That's what we call it because it's kind of pill shaped. Let's just drag that on up to maybe, let's make it to about 224. So I've done a click and a drag, and as I release that click, it actually brings up an order confirmation screen that says, okay, we're moving the stop up to, and I moved it approximately up to 224. It's actually 224.03. I'm going to forgive myself for the few pennies just moving this stop. There's no commission again on the stop order, also not a guarantee that we will sell it exactly 224.03. It might fall below that, but let's send this order off. And we've now moved that order up, and we can see it on our chart because we selected show orders. So there are three sort of hidden features. These are features where it might take an extra click or two to discover them. And it's always nice to have somebody show you what it does in the platform. But let's move on to number 4. Right now, we've been looking at just a single chart of Amazon, but we've looked at a couple of different symbols, Apple and Amazon. We know that we can get that little grid chart, but it's a little bit small off there to the side, can serve its purpose. But what if we wanted to have multiple charts of multiple stocks at the same time? How can we do that? Well, right up here in the upper right of the chart is this little kind of nondescript rectangle icon. And this is our grid feature where we can get a grid of charts. So I'm going to click on that little grid feature. And you'll notice now it's showing us potential arrangements of charts. We can have two charts side by side. We can have two charts above and below each other, or we can have multiple charts arranged. Just you'll notice as you move around and the highlight changes, that's showing you what the appearance of that grid would be like. So for example, if I just clicked right here, we'd have 4 charts arranged in 4 quadrants, 2 across, 2 down. But for this example, let's just do 2. Let me just choose 2. So now I have 2 charts side by side, and these are 2 independently operating charts now. So we can use different symbols, we can use different time frames, we can use different combinations of technical indicators. And then if we want to let's say we want to keep the 2 charts as a grid, but we want to have look at one at a time, the little menu in the upper right of either chart, the little 3 dots and 3 dashes is a menu icon on Thinkorswim. If I click on that, that will allow me to maximize one of these charts, bring it up to full screen size basically. Each of these independently is known as a cell. If you'll notice on our little grid display, they kind of look like cells in let's say a magnified shot of a slice of I don't know, piece of wood or something. Anyway, let's maximize this left chart, our Amazon chart. So there we are, we're back to looking at the Amazon chart, but we didn't lose Apple. Right up here are arrows that allow us to navigate back and forth between our 2 charts, or 3 charts, or 5 charts, or however many. So we can go back and forth. And then if we just want to go back to the display of both cells side by side, we just click this back arrow, and it brings those both back. And then finally, if we want to switch back to just seeing one chart, we just click on our grid and change it back to just one cell. And it's just going to use the default chart again. So that's a nifty little feature known as the flexible grid. All right, so lots of other things that I was tempted to explore within that grid, but I did want to show just the basic navigation of it. That can be really helpful to somebody who's trying to bring up multiple charts at the same time. But on that same theme, what if I wanted to have one chart displayed and then I wanted a grid maybe on a side monitor? If you can envision, let's say that you're Coach Cam right now and you're doing this webcast. Well, my setup here at my desk is actually, I have a computer right in front of me. That's the screen you're looking at. But then I have some monitors that you can't see just for extra documents and stuff. So I have one to my right and one to my left. So I have kind of a typical trader setup with multiple monitors. Well, what if I wanted to have my main Thinkorswim platform on my center monitor, but then I'd also want some charts over here. Maybe I want to have some watch lists over there. How do we do that? Well, for that, we need to know the detach function. So for example, let's come up here to the upper right, and I'm going to click on this little menu icon and click detach. Now what this does is whatever tool we're currently viewing, it's going to detach that from the Thinkorswim platform as a separate window. And then we can move it off to a side screen. So let me just select detach here and you'll see what I'm talking about. Do you see that we now have a window of that chart? And I can now move that over to my side screen, and now I have 2 charts if you can envision it. I have my primary chart, and then off to the right, which you can't now see because I've clicked and dragged it over to my side monitor, I have another chart where I can maybe set up a grid. I can do something like that, and if I don't need it anymore, notice this in the upper right, there's a little close box. So I can close that out. Now, I just showed that on charts, but on so many tools, I can't say just about every, but lots and lots of tools on Thinkorswim have this same detach feature. So for example, if I were over here looking at, let's say, a watch list, I could click here and detach a watch list. Blow that up into a maneuverable menu, and I can move that over to another side screen. Or maybe it's that quick chart that I just set up. Just remember, feel free to explore these little menu icons to see what they can do. One of those is the detach feature. So now I have that that sort of miniature chart, doesn't have to be miniature, I can start to blow that up as big as I want to take it and move it over to a side screen. So that I'm going to call, that's hidden feature number 5 that so many of our new users of Thinkorswim just overlook. All right, next up, sticking with this running chart theme. Traders are kind of the consummate tinkerers. They like to set things up their way, and they like to play around with the settings of stuff. They like to put in their own preferred indicators. They like to choose their own preferred time frames. And oddly enough, they don't like to have to do that every time they launch Thinkorswim. So watch this. Let's start to tinker with this chart a little bit. Let's come up here. Let's add some studies. Maybe we have a simple moving average. Let's just apply the default 9-day moving average. I'll just click apply there. Let's add maybe the MACD oscillator that's known as a histogram. Let's apply that to our chart. Let's say that we have a custom time frame. Maybe we don't use a 1-year daily chart. Maybe our trader prefers something shorter term. Let's go to, how about we go to a custom? Ooh, let's get fancy. I'm going to go to a time frame, and let's set up maybe a 3-month daily chart. Click OK. And just to really kind of mess with it a little bit, let's say that our trader doesn't really use candlesticks. Maybe their preference is a line chart. So I'm going to change that style of the chart. Let's go from the candle type of chart to a line chart. There we go. So this is a very customized chart style. And for some traders, they have one preferred style, or they may have different styles and tools that use for different types of trades that they're doing. But the bottom line here is that when we've done a bunch of customizations to the chart, we can actually save that chart style. So let's do that. Let's come up here to Style, and I'm going to go down to the bottom of this menu and choose Save Style. Now, we just need to give this a name that might be memorable. Maybe it's a line chart plus indicators. Could be, give it any name we want as long as it's memorable. And what I'm going to do is also check the box that says include any patterns. We didn't set up any patterns here, but the study set, the set of studies, our studies here would be the MACD histogram and our moving average line here. But what this is doing is saving all the customization that we just made. So we customized the time frame. We customized the style from a candlestick chart to a line chart, and we added some technical indicators. It's going to save all of that as a template. So let me just click Save. And then let's go back to Apple. And let's say with Apple, we've gotten rid of those studies. And we switched our style back to, let's go back to our candle chart. And maybe we've been looking at it on a daily chart, on a 1-year daily time frame. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just recruit all of those customizations again without having to go through them again? Well, we can do that. You know what I'm going to do here first, though? I'm going to make one more chart style. Let's go back up here to Style, and I'm just going to select Save Style again, and I'm just going to call this a plain candle chart. There aren't any patterns or studies set to include, so I'm just going to save that. But now I can go up to Style, and I now have the option to load those two styles. Let's load, what did we call our first one? It was our line chart with indicators. Hey, what do you know? This is no longer Amazon where I set up all those customizations. We're now looking at Apple, and any stock that we navigate to is going to be using that set of customizations. But what if I want the plain candles back? I can just go back to Style. I can load up that plain candle style, and there we go. It's back to a 1-year candlestick chart. Still has the studies because I didn't check the box to save the studies. I can clean those up if I want to. Just remove them here, apply, and OK. So that save styles function can really be useful to a new user of Thinkorswim, but it can be a little bit easy one. It's an easy one to overlook because we click on that style icon. We have quite a menu. Right down there at the bottom of that menu is loading those styles. Right? And if we don't need a style anymore, for example, maybe that was just an example. Let's get rid of our line chart plus indicators. I'm probably never going to use it again, so I'm just going to remove it. There we go. So that's hidden feature number 7. Let's go to hidden feature number 8, which is the ability actually to share the way we do things on our Thinkorswim platform with maybe a buddy or a friend or an acquaintance who would like to do something similar. Let's say that we've set up a chart that we've been trading, and maybe we have a buddy that says, hey, could you just share the way you have that set up with me? You could say, well, I can call them up and I can talk you through it over the phone, or maybe I'll just send you a link. And that link will automatically load up this customized chart that I've created. Alejandra says, does the save style function work the same in a flexible grid? We can, yeah, we can import that. Yep. We can actually, and we can even share the grid. Yes, so experiment with combinations of these tools that I'm showing you. But how about, let me just load up a style here again. I'm gonna pick one quickly. I'll maybe use, how about we use one that's called a 1040 crossover, which is a combination of two moving averages. It's done on a weekly chart. So let's say that we've constructed a custom looking chart, and we want to share that with a friend or an acquaintance, somebody that we trust and know. Anyway, it doesn't actually share, by the way, does not share the portfolio details, doesn't otherwise link to your portfolio. All it does is set up their chart to look similar to yours, nothing else. So it's not, compromise of the security of your portfolio. But in any case, if I just click share right here, you'll notice as I hover over that, it says share chart. This is going to create a link. We can give it a name. Let's say, I'm just going to call this our crossover chart. And I'm going to share that, and it creates this link, a link that looks very much like a traditional URL, http://. And without doing anything else, it has copied that link to my what do we call a notepad? Anyway, it's already ready for me to copy and paste that somewhere else, right? I don't have to copy it. I can just paste it elsewhere. So we could paste it into Word document. We could paste it into an email. But it would look like that sort of strange looking HTTP link. What you need to know about that is not to be used in an internet browser. You can't go put it in your search bar and have it bring up Thinkorswim. It doesn't work that way. Instead, it's a link that's added to the other user's Thinkorswim. So we create the link, we go paste that into an email or whatever and send it off, and then the recipient of that link just copies it into their own Thinkorswim. So here's where we copy that link. Right up here, we're going to click on the little, this is it's the settings for the entire Thinkorswim desktop. So I'm going to click on this little gear icon, and I'm going to open that shared item. Okay, and that provides an area for me to enter that shared item URL. So if I just paste it in here and click preview, this is now going to create a custom chart, this chart that was just shared, and it will now show up in the new user's platform. So they would just click import and off they go. So the next time they wanted to load that chart, they could go up to their style and it will be available there. Now, let's see, Robert says styles can also be loaded to the My Tools bar. Yes, there are lots of different things that we can share. So we can share charts. To go back to the earlier question, if I've created a grid, let's create a grid. Maybe our grid, so this is a weekly chart, this is a candle chart, maybe I want to share all of this. I can click here and share this grid right there. give that grid a name and share it, and that will create that link again. And we open it in the same area. We're going to go to open shared item, and we'd put that shared link in here and then import it. And then that would then be available not just in the charts, but actually as a grid. We would go down here to open a grid right here. All right. So there are lots of different ways. Let me go back to just the one grid layout. Lots of different things that we can share. We can share charts, we can share grids, we can share scans, we can share watch lists. But once we know how to create a link, then all we have to do is also know how to import that. And then we just go, like if we share a watch list, it would be available in our personal watch lists. All right, so that's sort of a hidden feature number, what are we at? 8? Yeah. Let's do another one. Hidden feature number 9. Let me switch this back to kind of a traditional chart. Here's a quick way I might do that. Let me just, there we go. Let's maximize that cell. I'm going to leave that grid where it is. Anyway, let's see. We're going to look at ThinkBack. Oh, ThinkBack. Well, what is ThinkBack? Well, you know, the platform is called Thinkorswim. ThinkBack is when a trader is trying to get some experience with a trade strategy, but they don't want to place a trade and then wait to see what happens. Instead, what they're going to do is go back in time, theoretically, to place that trade, and then move forward in time again to see how the trade plays out. It's a back testing tool that's available within the Thinkorswim platform. Now, there's another tool that's called On Demand that's separate. It's actually a much more robust tool, but I just wanted to look at ThinkBack for just a moment. I actually dedicated a recent webcast entirely to On Demand. But let's talk about ThinkBack. So ThinkBack can be found right over here. If we go to the Analyze tab, there's the ThinkBack tool. And how about we use Apple as our example? Let me just go back to a period in time. Let's kind of go back maybe here to January. Zoom back. Maybe our trader has seen that Apple, they're looking back in history and they see Apple's been running up. It's been pulling back. Maybe it's come back down to what they think is a potential area of support. And so they're putting themselves in the shoes of a trader back here in January. Wonder what might have happened if I bought a call back here, January 20th. Let's see if this support holds from January 20th and how a call might have performed. So this tool, ThinkBack, is going to allow us to go back to January 20th of 2026, and we're going to place a fake trade back then. Here's how it works. Analyze, go to ThinkBack, make sure that we've loaded that tool, and we type in our symbol that we intend to trade, and then we're going to set the date on which, the date in history that we intended to have traded it. We can do this with stocks, or we can do it for options. How about we do, let's do an option trade here. So I'm going to go back to maybe we ought to just do a stock trade to keep it simple. Sure, why not? Anyway, January 2026, let's set our date to January 20th of 2026. And let's sort of drag this down a little bit. There we go, that'll work actually. This is now showing us a chart of Apple over time. But no, let's do an option trade. What the heck? Let's go to, how about the 20th of February contracts? So for those of you who aren't terribly familiar with options, what we're going to do is just buy an option that generally benefits if the stock goes up in price. It's known as a call option, right? Actually, let's go to the 20th of March. And with the stock trading around 255, what if we just bought the 255 call? Looks like back in January. So what this is doing is it's showing the options that were available back in January, including the 20th of March contracts. And we can just click on the ask price, just like we typically would to buy an option. And it creates a little fake buy order down here. So we just bought one 20th of March, 2026, 255 call option. as of January 20th. And it's going to give us a profit and loss on this call option as time advances from that date. So notice right here now, it also gives us the option to change what we call our profit or loss date. So we can advance this using a little calendar here. We could, for example, move it to the 22nd of January, or we can just use the plus and minus arrows. Let's use the plus and minus to move this forward one day at a time. But what I'd like you to do is keep your eye on the PL open column here. As I click the plus sign once, that moves us to January 21st. We are not off to a good start with this long call. We thought we were at support there on January 20th. Not doing so well. Let's click plus again. Still not doing well. We're down 372 bucks. Let's keep going, keep clicking that plus button. And what this is doing is it's just recalculating based on the closing values for options on Apple for each subsequent day, how a long call might have done. We could do other strategies as well, but let's just keep going. Let's see. Oh yeah, looks like it's kind of taking off. Okay. So as of February 5th, this hypothetical long call investment might have been doing quite well. Sam says, this is a replay. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Barbara, yes, the option price is on ThinkBack or closing price on that date. Exactly. Let's see. Any other questions that have come in? Mark says, you really appreciate my recent webcast on that on-demand feature. Found it would be a lot more useful. It is much more robust than ThinkBack. ThinkBack is kind of the streamlined version of on-demand. So yeah, if you want to see a more detailed back testing tool, you may want to check out that on-demand presentation. But yeah, this is a nifty little tool, and we can align this with the charts now. We could come back down here and look at the underlying graph and look to see, well, what has this trade done? You can see this displayed in yellow right here. The yellow is our trade. We took it here on January 20th. It was underwater initially, started to do well, back and forth it goes. And if we hold it all the way till its expiration, this is not one that would have turned out well. That's actually not uncommon with long options. Let's see. Alejandra says you can look at the graph from the ThinkBack. Exactly. It's just right down there at the bottom of the screen. There, Alejandra. Yeah. So feel free to explore these tools. Let me just show you that again. So down here, hidden down in the lower left is the underlying graph. If I click on the little arrow next to it, it'll reveal it. If I click on the little arrow next to it again, it'll hide it. So that's what I've done. And if I'm done with my practice trading, I can just click the little X. That eliminates that example trade. And if I just want to go back forward in time, we can just reset this button. It's just going to reset the ThinkBack tool, erase the symbol that we've been using, and we're back and running again. All right. Now there's one final tool I wanted to show you today. So that's 9 so far. And as I mentioned, we were going to be covering a lot of territory. I didn't want you to try to memorize every click I did or try to envision using every tool that I'm demonstrating. It's not a sales pitch for any of these tools, but just look for what looks like it would be intriguing or important to you and then experiment with that tool. But the last thing I wanted to discuss is known as the Chart Describer tool. And you might be saying, well, Cameron, I've been using paper money for a long time. I've never heard of the Chart Describer. It's because it's only available on the live platform. So let's go now to our fake live platform. Here we are. And right up here at the top is the Chart Describer icon. It just looks like a chart with a little eye. And what this does, if we click on that, it sort of analyzes the chart very quickly through a number of different technical tools and kind of calls the trader's attention to maybe some tools that might be doing something that might be intriguing. So for this default example for Apple, it's saying, hey, the standard deviation channel over a 21-day period, that's a month, has an upper value of 369.63, a lower of 357. The 9-period simple moving average is at 324.51. Interesting. I wonder what's going on with those tools. Let's add those to our charts. So it's identified maybe something interesting going on. It's not telling us that we should trade these. It's just looking through typical technical lenses at a range of different technical indicators and identifying a few that might be doing something interesting. So let me add those to the chart. Okay, I see what's going on here. Very likely what it noted is our standard deviation channel is upward sloping. We're in a bullish position traditionally using that deviation channel. And price is just right now, right about on our 9-period moving average. So maybe for a short-term trader, that's a combination of trend strength plus possibly interesting price position. Could be setting up for a potential entry signal. Certainly not a guarantee. And the trader always wants to apply their own understanding of these tools before doing anything. But just so you know, this little chart describer is there. We can just be on a symbol, click on the chart describer, see if it catches anything that we might have overlooked. And we can also add this. The chart describer can also be one of our tools in the left column. I'm going to come down here and click on the little plus icon that allows us to add a new gadget. And right here in alphabetical order is our chart describer. And if I type in Apple, what this will do is it's going to show us the chart describer again, but it's actually going to look at not just the 1-year time frame that we have on our chart, but it'll look at several time frames and call out maybe some other indicators. So on the 1 year, yep, our standard deviation channel and 9-day moving average is what it found. On a 1 day, hey, the security's implied volatility is its lowest point. Interesting. And what about on the 5-day, 5-minute? Must be very close to the 50-period simple moving average on a 5-day time frame. So nifty little feature. Explore that on your own, but that's just another one. It's easy to overlook, especially if we're practicing on paper money, because this one's only available on live. All right. But guys, we've accomplished what I set out to do today. I wanted to talk through 10 hidden Thinkorswim features that some of the beginners, we tend to maybe overlook these because there's an extra click, might be a little bit harder to find, a little bit more buried in the platform. Doesn't mean that the tools don't carry their own potential significance. So I hope this has been helpful for you. This is really what we do on Wednesdays. We just explore Thinkorswim. We get ourselves acquainted with it, and that is with the Thinkorswim desktop platform. But we have a lot more going on outside of just Thinkorswim demonstrations. So make sure that you're taking full advantage of Schwab Education. Starting with, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel. So it's our YouTube channel is called Trader Talks Schwab Coaching Webcast. You can subscribe by clicking the subscribe button just down below the video. It only takes a second. It doesn't cost anything to do that. But this channel is where you can join these live streams like this one that we're hosting right now. You can find playlists of previous webcasts. So for example, if you wanted to find the playlist for this series, you can click on playlists. This one happens to be all the way down at the bottom of all of our different series. There's Getting Started with Thinkorswim. If you click on View Full Playlist, you can see last week's discussion, or as somebody pointed out, the discussion on the 20th of last month, which was that on-demand tool, which is kind of a more in-depth, more powerful backtesting tool. Think back is kind of streamlined, smaller. On-demand is a more robust, similar backtesting feature. But on-demand also only available on live platform, just so you know. Now, another thing that Barb and I would suggest you do is to follow your favorite Schwab presenters on social media. You can find us on X. You can find and follow us on LinkedIn. Barb, you can find on X at Barb Armstrong CS. You can find me on X at Cameron May CS. And if you reply to one of my posts here, I just try to reply right back to you, and it opens that channel of communication when the camera's not on. You can also do the same thing on LinkedIn. Just pop over to linkedin.com/in. And then go to /Cameron May CS. There it is. That's my handle on X and on LinkedIn. But give me a follow here. Reply to one of my posts. I just try to reply right back to you. And again, that's the place to communicate with your presenters in between the live streams. All right, time for me to let you go. Go enjoy the rest of our webcast for the rest of the day. Thanks to everyone who's already clicked the thumbs up today. When you click that like button, it's definitely like a pat on the back to your presenter, but it also gives my videos a nice boost in the YouTube algorithm, helps more people find these discussions. So I see 39 people out of 98 watching right now have already clicked the thumbs up. Thanks for doing that. That's always very much appreciated. Barb, thanks for helping out in chat. Everybody, I will see you in a future webcast. I'll also look for you on X and on LinkedIn, on social media. But whenever I see you again, until that moment arrives, I want to wish you the very best of luck. Happy trading. Bye-bye.